Hi, Sue. It's really great to see you again. Thanks for sending in your video of Elvis. It's the first time I've seen him. He's really cute. Overall, general impression is that the trot needs more impulsion. So I would practice doing short forward and back, forward and back. Go on a circle, do like 5 strides of lengthening, and then bring him back for 5 or 6 strides, and then go forward again for 5 or 6 strides of lengthening. Each time you bring him back less far so that you develop your trot. You develop more power, more impulsion in your trot, and that becomes your new normal. So that was very nice of you to put the little graphics beside each movement. You don't have to do that. I know that's a lot of extra work, but that was nice for me that you did that. Let's talk about the first shoulder in, the left shoulder in. It starts off quite good. Like I said, you could have more impulsion for sure. You have a little bit of loss of angle. In other words, bringing his shoulders to the inside to make the shoulder in at the end. You can do one of 2 things. Line up your outside knee with a point somewhere on the short side. Sorry about the frog in my throat. And then imagine an imaginary line from your outside knee to that point on the short side and ride toward that point on the rail. If you're a little nearsighted like I am, that's maybe a little bit harder for you to do than the next thing, which is to think about or even peek down the end of your nose and look at his outside front foot. When it comes to the ground, it should come onto the inside lip of the track. And you can see that you do that at the very beginning, but then you lose a little bit of that angle and his outside forefoot comes into the middle of the track. So each time he takes a step, it should step on the inner lip of the track. Now, after you finish that first shoulder in, that first left shoulder in, this is my first clue that his left hind leg is the weaker hind leg, because when you allow him to come straight, you lose his left hind. His left hind steps to the left, and you go through the corner with his haunches a little bit to the inside, to the left. You want to grab a hold of that left hind leg, even though you're actually done riding shoulder in. Think, especially going to the left, think about riding every corner in shoulder 4. So you don't want him to unload that inside hind leg. You want him to do deep knee bends and weight lift on that left hind leg. So think shoulder in down the long side, shoulder 4 through the corners. So the next thing we have is extended walk. And I like how you're following with your elbows going forward and back, but you're bringing your elbows behind your body. So I want you to do the same amount of following, but I want you to have a different, what I call home position. So just stand on the ground for a second, or you can do this sitting on your horse, and just let your arms hang straight down by your sides. And you can see that your elbows are just about at your waist. Now allow your elbows to be an inch or 2 in front of your waist and bend your elbow in that position. That's your home position. So as you follow the motion of the horse's head and neck forward and back, don't come any further back, because you'll steal from the hind legs. Don't come any further back than the elbow being an inch or 2 in front of your waist. Don't bring your elbows behind your body. The next thing you show me are walk to canter, canter, walk, simple transitions. Your down transitions are absolutely awesome. There aren't any dribbly trot steps between canter and walk. It's very, very clean. What you need to work on for the up transition is to make the horse straighter. So basically in both directions, he swings his hindquarters to the inside in the canter depart. Make sure you're not pushing with your outer leg when you cue the canter depart. It should be just a light windshield wiper action of your outside leg. So first we need to be sure that you're not part of the problem pushing his haunches in. But I want you to think about doing every single canter part, whether it's from the walk or from the trot, from that shoulder 4 position that we talked about riding in the corners. This will make him straight through the walk to canter. It will also strengthen his inside hind leg because horses have a tendency to put their haunches to the inside in the canter part anyhow. So you have to make a concerted effort to make him straight in a canter part by riding all canter parts through shoulder 4 position. The other thing is most of your transitions walk to canter were good, but a couple of times he trotted through the transition. Make sure you're closing your outside hand in a fist as you cue the canter part. That will stick that strike-off leg, the outside hind leg, on the ground. You'll get a more clean transition. It will also be an awesome habit for you to develop because that's what you're going to have to do with your outside hand when you start doing flying changes. Now let's talk a little bit about your position in the canter. You are following with your elbows. I'd like to see you try to follow, open and close those elbows like a jockey a little bit more so that he can use his neck a little bit more. I'd also like you to relax behind your knee so that you let your lower leg just drape around his barrel a little bit more. That angle behind your knee is too tight. I'd like to see that angle a little bit more open. It's good, it's good for a jumping leg to be that tight, but not for what you're doing on the flat. Also, you have one transition to left canter where he's a little bit behind your legs. So interrupt asking for a canter part, and then boom, boom, boom. Come back to the walk, go boom, boom, boom with your outside leg. Make him a little sharper to that outside leg, which is the primary aid for the cue for the canter part. Bring him back to the walk. After you boom, 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 he's probably going to trot or canter forward. Remember, don't leave a correction about going forward with the correction. You have to go back and retest with the kind of aid you want, a light aid. So you've brought your outer leg back. He trots, he's slow to react, trots through the canter part. Boom, boom, boom with your outer leg because he wasn't listening to it. Come back to the walk, retest with that light windshield wiper action of your right leg. And if he immediately, with rear wheel drive, surges forward into the canter, then praise him. Now, the next thing you show me is walk to counter canter. And when you counter canter with him on the left lead, his neck is much too bent to the left. Look at 1 minute and 54 seconds of your tape, and you'll have a good freeze frame of what I mean. It's a little bit too bent when you're doing counter canter to the right, but not so much. But I want you to get a feeling in counter canter that the horse is straight. Think about your training scale. Your 5th ingredient in the training scale is straightness, and the 6th is collection. Well, you cannot get to collection if you don't have him straight. And he's not straight if his shoulders aren't between the reins, with his shoulders being directly in front of your hips and directly in front of his hips. And in your counter canter, his shoulders are falling away from the lead that he's on. So you need to create a new normal in your mind and a new feeling through your body. So when you're in counter canter, I want you to counter flex him. In other words, if you're in left lead counter canter, you're going to turn your right wrist like you're unlocking a door, and you're just going to see his right eye. Now, make sure you support with the left rein so that you don't bend his neck to the right. You just want to see the right eye. And being on left lead canter in right flexion will place his shoulders between the reins. Now, feel that and see that in front of you. When you have when that's a good reference for you, go back to flexing him over the lead that he's on. If he's in left canter, he should be flexed to the left. And the shoulders should stay in the same position. They shouldn't fall to the right. If they do, counterflex him to the right again. So regardless of which lead you're on, you should be able to flex, counterflex, flex, counterflex. And the horse's shoulders should stay in the same spot. If the shoulders fall in the opposite direction from the lead you're on, then he's not straight, and you won't be able to get eventually to collection. Okay, so the next thing that you did is leg yield with a half pass. First way was to the right. For both the right and the left, I like the fact that you're doing leg yield to half pass, leg yield to half pass, because you're doing leg yield with a bend, and then you just keep that bend as you flow into the half pass. So that's a wonderful exercise, but I'd like to see more frequent efforts at the leg yield. So in other words, turn down the quarter line, maybe do 3 steps of leg yield. Let's say you're on the right rein, turn down the quarter line, leg yield to the left with bend, and then take him with your left rein and stepping down into your right iron over into the right half pass for maybe 2 or 3 steps, and then go back to the leg yield with a bend, and then take him again in the half pass, maybe 2 or 3 steps. So lots of transitions to make sure you have the same amount of bend at the end of the half pass as you did at the beginning. The other thing I want you to look at is stop the video at 2 minutes and 16 seconds. You can see that you're leaning to the left, so you're giving contradictory aids. Your A's are saying to him, half pass to the right, but the leaning of your body to the left makes it difficult for him. So you want to sit in the direction of the half pass. You want to sit to the right. Pretend that you're going to dismount off the wrong side of the horse, off the right side of the horse. So step down into the right iron, slide your seat over to the right, and that will get you sitting in the middle of the horse, not falling behind the movement to the left. Now, you do say that the half pass to the left, you did the leg yield to the half pass to the left, and you said that this is much harder for him. The main reason that it's harder is that you're leading with the hindquarters. There's his weak left hind leg again. So he's taking the left hind and stepping to the left with it. He's falling off the left hind leg rather than bringing that left leg underneath the body. So engaging it, bringing it under so that it goes forward sideways, not just sideways. So you want to be sure that the forehand is placed a little bit further to the left than the hindquarters. In this video, you have the hindquarters placed too far to the left. Now, once again, I don't know whether he's doing that because of his weak left hind, which is my suspicion, or because you're over pushing with your right leg, and you might be pushing too hard with your right leg because you think it's harder to go in that direction, so you're trying to help him. But remember, even though the outside leg behind the girth helps a little bit with the half pass, the primary reason you have your outer leg behind the girth is to bend the horse around the inner leg. The predominant aids in a half pass are inside leg and weight on the inside seat bone, and then bringing the forehand over by bringing the outside rein toward the neck. So next we have the turns on the haunches. The one to the left is really super good in terms of size and bend and everything else. But I want to see you continue to use your elastic elbows. You freeze up your elbows. I want to continue to see them open and close throughout the turn. I understand that, and this is great problem solving on your part, I understand when you do the turn on the haunches to the right, you're purposely placing his haunches in because he had a tendency to put his hindquarters out. There's that weak left hind leg again. So this is a really good correction that you've come up with to do it in a little bit of haunches in position, so that left hind leg has to step under the body, and do some weightlifting, and therefore get stronger. Now, the next thing we have is the rein back. I want you to freeze the video on 3 minutes and 12 seconds and look at your position. Your A's are much too exaggerated. He's much more sensitive than that. You don't have to lean your upper body that far forward, and you don't have to bring your legs that far back. So I would like you to get the same reaction from him let's start off with 50% less. It'll actually end up being more than that. But let's go from the position that you have now Bring your upper body forward a hair, but 50% less than you've been doing, and your legs behind the girth, but only 50% less behind the girth than what you've been doing. And he's being very obedient as far as going backwards. But what I'd like you to do is continue going backwards until he starts to take a longer step with his hind legs. As a result, his back comes up and his neck goes down. You only need to see his neck come down for like one stride, then tell him he's good and go forward again. Because we don't want him to learn to go back with shuffly short steps with a low back and his head and neck up in the air. So keep doing the exercise until the back comes up and the neck goes down. So that should give you some good homework. All of these things are easily fixable, so you should feel good about that, but good to have some eyes on the ground, and hope to see another video soon. Bye.